Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. You're welcome to Morning Spring here at Western Spring Television, where we say it as it is. On Morning Spring, what we speak to is everything that has to do with issues, in the nation, nationally, subnationally, essentially issues of public importance. That's what we look into here, having conversations about these issues, different angles, opinions, policymakers, speaking to these issues, all geared towards one purpose, having a nation that we are proud of. This nation of ours, good people, great nation, Nigeria, that is our business here every day. Very noble, by the way. I want to sincerely thank you for being with us this morning again. Femi remains my name. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you, and of course to welcome Evelyn. Ohiolei, good morning.
Good morning, Femi. How are you today?
Very well.
Good morning, people. Welcome to another beautiful day. We are grateful to God for life. It's a beautiful day,
Right.
and we're reaching you live from the beautiful city of Osun State capital right here in Nigeria. We are indeed grateful to God for life.
Yes, we are.
And I always say this all of the time on our sister station on the radio, that you are 100% in charge of your life and your happiness. And remember that a happy place is not really a destination, it's a direction. So as you go forth today, ensure to stay happy. And I tell you, it sure will direct you to, the places, to the things you need. Welcome on board.
That's some consultation right there. You should pay for that. If actually she was going to charge you, Evelyn 2024, say so, but that's absolutely true. And it's free,
Yeah.
So make yourself happy and give it a shot again for whatever you believe in. On the program, we look at the headlines. These gives us the opportunity to see major stories from major dailies every day. And after that, we take a pause and then we start the conversation. And what we have in stock for you today, you don't want to miss it at all. But quickly before that, let's inform you that we are live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television, also on other social media platforms, all at Western Spring Television, Facebook, X, and Instagram as well. Yesterday, the last 24 hours have been very eventful, Evelyn, very, very eventful nationally, subnationally, from state, from the north central to the northwest to the southwest. It was an eventful day. We learned of the EFCC coming for the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Dozabelo. They laid a siege at his house, and it was all kind of drama. People were there, some that were chanting, canvassing support for him. And then we learned the incumbent governor of the state, his successor, that's talking about Ismail, came really to the place and, for whatever he came for. But we learned it will be arraigned today. Many development happened. The issue in Kano is there with Abdullah Iganduje, they say, investigations against him is having some issues nationally, talking about this political party as well. And here, Osun State, the face, the identity of the state, talking about the logo of Osun, giving it another face, and then all the issues that came with it. Many things to really talk about.
Yes, the last 24 hours was agog with an avalanche of issues. And if you remember, before we go right into the newspaper segment, there's this show while growing up, while I was much younger, this Kule Bantefa show, Fuji House of Commotion. That is exactly what Nigeria is like. Because when I saw the issue that happened with the former Kogi State governor, I'm like, what in the world is this? An incumbent governor, the FCC said the incumbent governor, Usman Odo, came, as to pay a solidarity visit to the governor and whisked away the governor while the EFCC officials were, barricaded his house, were right in front of his house, I'm wondering what is happening, and the conflicting court orders, the Federal High Court giving the go-ahead for EFCC to arrest Kogi State Governor, and the State High Court restricting the EFCC. I mean, what in the world is this?
What in the world is this, really? Time will not really, allow us to really speak more on these issues, but we try and do it one thing at a time, really. And one thing, before we go to, newspapers, democracy is very interesting on this matter. Very, very interesting. Challenges here and there, but trust us, Nigeria will survive. Maybe still 13 issues, 62 years or 64 years by October after that. All these we will look into in the coming days as well. We'll take a pause right now, and then we see what the papers are saying. I can assure you the papers are in very interesting headlines. We'll be back. All right, let's start here with what the Daily Trust has for us on the headline segment. Today, governance, Atiku, Wike test strength as PDP NEC meeting holds today. And riders here, RU withdraw suit against party. NWC passes vote of confidence on Damagum. North Central insists on completing RU's term. All right, and moving on. Bandits abduct dozens of villagers in Kaduna community. Customs officer lynched in Katsina for shooting passenger. That's bizarre and sad there. Uncertainty over Ondo APC primary as court affirms Ganduje suspension. And the writer says as two courts issue conflicting others on his arrest. That was what Evelyn was talking about. And the judiciary must really, take care of some of these things so it doesn't appear like our politicians. We just go shopping for court orders here and there. Top strip, local government chairman, councillors declare removal plot as Kaduna Assembly trims tenure. BDC is now buying dollar at 980 naira. APCON president, EFCC siege, Ododo smuggles. That's in parentheses now. Yahaya Bello out amid gunshots. Needless drama, we'll say, but that's all the Daily Trust has for us today.
All right, from Daily Trust, we head over to Nigerian Tribune for today. Nigerian Tribune, Kano High Court affirms Ganduje's suspension with the riders, restrains him from parading self as APC member. We won't comply with court order on Ganduje's suspension, APC vows. Tinubu is the target, says national chairman, and APC NWC drags Kano High Court judge before NJC. It's indeed a dramatic one there. And you can get all the juicy details on page 5 of Nigerian Tribune for today. All set for PDP and NEC. Governors meet, speak on Damagum. Others argue withdraws case against removal as national chairman. PDP NWC passes vote of confidence in Damagum and do not fall for Wike's streak. Secondos cautions APC NEC. And, one side it's PDP, the other side is APC, drama everywhere. Away from that, after hours of drama over arrest bid, EFCC says Yahaya Bello will be arraigned today. Riders, EFCC flouting court order, Bello cites subsisting court order restraining agency from arresting, detaining, prosecuting him. And Supreme Court has said no court can gag EFCC. Others, that's coming from the Leonard Silk, Femi Falana. And CSL's activists cautions EFCC against misrepresenting Nigeria as lawless society. You can get all the story from page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. And, the picture right on the front page is that of the Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde with the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Lola Adejan, and former Governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, at the opening ceremony of the first Osun State International Tourism Summit held on Wednesday at the International Conference Center, ICCUI, Ibadan. And on the 2024-7 APC governorship aspirants alleged printing of fake membership and non-members. It's going to go down on Saturday. 16 people jostling for the ticket of the APC, including the sitting governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa. Fingers crossed on how that day will play. Tinubu vows to deal with criminals threatening Nigeria's sovereignty. And top corner of the Nigerian Tribune, the front page now, Train 8, Nigerian LNG expansion threatened by alleged contract breaches. And Oyo Secretariat invasion, 78-old man, 28 others arraigned for treasonable felony, possession of firearms. Government demolishes Yoruba Nation agitators building. You can get the details of that on page 3 and 15 of the Nigerian Tribune, and that will be all from here.
All right. Next is the Punch. The Punch newspaper. El-Rufai marketers feel subsidy claims wrong. El-Rufai marketers feel subsidy claims wrong. That's coming from the federal government and the NNPC. What we have always said here, and we still keep saying, is Nigerians deserve to know the truth, really. Now, riders bring evidence of subsidy payment. Local Bureau tells El-Rufai and marketers that's true. NNPC insists it is recovering full cost. Marketers spec petrol at 900 naira per litre. All right, we have pictures here, insert of the President, Bola Tinubu's Chief of Staff, Femi with a Femi leader, Pa Ruben Fashoranti, former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Oba Olufalaye, former Osun State Governors, Aremo Olusegun Oshoba, Senator Gbenga Daniel, and other eminent Afenifere members at the President's show villa in Abuja on Wednesday. They were there. You can see the cross-section pictures, and of course, the elder statesman, Pa Ruben Fashoranti, Femi Gbajabiamila, the President. Moving on, heavy punishment awaits persons threatening Nigeria's unity. That's coming from the numero uno. Tinubu, if you dare threaten Nigeria's unity, Mr. President is ready for you. And away from that, bottom strip, federal government to execute $3.8 billion gas supply agreement in May. Nigerians will wait to see. 29 Yoruba Nation agitators remanded for your demolishes base. Okay. An APC drags Kano George before NJC over Ganduje suspension. Again, APC drags Kano Judge before NJC over Ganduje's suspension. And the top strip, policeman, Kogi governor, foil EFCC attempt to arrest Yahaya Bello with a rider. Anti-graft agency condemns obstruction of arrest. So, if he's not in the custody of the EFCC, we are learning it will be arraigned today. So, will he come to court himself? Anyway, we'll wait to see how today will pan out, considering that case. And Cardoso links depleting reserves to debt repayment. Many persons have been raising concern, the issue with the foreign reserve, but I think he provided an explanation at the forum about that. A writer to that says CBN stops banks from lending 50% of deposits. And lastly, PDP governors warn against illegality as NEC, that's NEC meets today. PDP governors warn against illegality as NEC meets today. Fingers crossed with how the PDP conduct their affairs. We'll wait to see. That's all the Punch has for us in its front page.
All right, very quickly, we head to the Guardian newspaper this morning. Let's check out what stories are making headlines on the front page of the Guardian newspaper today. Poor funding model, paucity stall $3.2 billion Eastern Rail project 3 years after. Project was flagged off in May 2021 for delivery in 2023 to be funded by 85% foreign loan and 15% FG counterpart contribution. And the $3.2 billion project has been stalled by funding removal of old rail tracks without a definite plan for their replacement worries residents. And these are actually all causes for concern this morning. And one would want to say, why is it that when the government actually puts a date, maybe a date of delivery, a date for something to, kick off, there would always be, okay, we want an extension, or there is a shift or a postponement of this date. Why is it that we don't always get it right from the beginning and say, this is going to it's going to be a 3 years project, and we are going to deliver in 3 years, and that 3 years, within the space of that 3 years, that particular project is delivered. It is what it is. This is Nigeria. And terrorists abduct 2 pregnant, 8 nursing women, 10 others in Katsina. Sad news there. Political exposed converts, how not to pardon, exercise prerogative of mercy, prerogative of mercy. That's news analysis page 4. And court affirms Ganduje sack, APC kicks. Why? Okay, all eyes on PDP governors as IU's lawsuit withdrawal alters balance for Damagum. And why Nigeria's foreign reserve dipped by Cardoso. FG kicks as Kano lists conditions for resumption of trial. Afenifere leaders visit Tinubu, demand restructuring, security, and Southwest development. That's a news page 7. Yesterday we had a very robust conversation with an elder statesman here, Dr. Pa Yemi Farumbi, and he was able to talk to some of these issues. OSPN warns 200% electricity tariff hike may cripple 65% of businesses. And that story is on business page 18 this morning on The Guardian. And, that will be all from the front page of The Guardian. And, of course, for the entirety of the newspapers on the review today. All right, we step aside, take a pause to just come back, and we'll be speaking to issues, local issues affecting the Osun State. We have a major stakeholder in the studios this morning that will help us talk to some of these issues. Don't go anywhere. Morning Spring will be right back.
All right, you're welcome back. And it's the Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. And the conversation this morning essentially is about governance, and politics definitely being part of it. And essentially talking about democracy, being government of the people, by the people, and for the people as well. And now an essential part of that definition is the people, for the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, people's lives depends largely on the direction of government and the people that are in government at a particular time, the governance and its direction as well. So they do directly and indirectly, but essentially directly affect how the people will fare. And looking into this, keeping government on its toes at different levels, nationally, subnationally, is what we are speaking about today, especially the role of opposition in politics, the substantial, level of opposition. Many persons will say what we see here, around here in Nigeria, is just antagonism, just picking something bad in everything that possibly a government in power does. But to look more into that and to share with us the real essence of having an opposition in politics and speaking truth to power, because that's very important. We have been joined in the studio here today by Mr. Ismail Omipidan. Mr. Omipidan is the spokesperson for former Osun State Governor Governor Oyetola, who is now the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy. Good to have you here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. The pleasure is mine.
Thank you very much. And so let's get to, you know, the discussion of the day. Mr. Omipidan, it's an expected part of democracy, talking about opposition politics everywhere. And many persons will say any democracy in any land, any nation that doesn't have a quality and a viable opposition, you know, the government in power might just stray without anybody calling them to power. So how would you rate the level of opposition, essential, constructive work of opposition in Nigeria? And we now bring it home in Osun State here.
Thank you very much. If we look nationally, currently, I don't think we do have a very strong opposition nationally. I say so with a sense of responsibility. You recall when the APC was in the opposition, it kept the government of the day on its toe nationally. They were always analyzing the policies of government and point out the direction they expect the government to follow. But in the last maybe 4 years, or in the last 8-9 years, I haven't seen much of that. And that is largely because most of the party that ordinarily should provide the leadership as far as opposition is concerned is immersed in crisis. I'm talking about the PDP. You know, perhaps that is why it's been able to provide a very strong opposition, you know, at the national level. But if you come to Osun State, I'm very proud to say that most of the things that appears good that the government of the day is doing in Osun today was as a result of the criticism by the APC in Osun. And if you permit me, I will point out maybe one or two.
Please.
If you recall very well, if you will still have the video clip, go back and watch it. The median Ipade Imole, that was the very first time the government of the day will ever admit that it received palliative from the federal government. Before then, they were silent. They didn't say anything. And we kept hammering that, look, you have collected palliative. We quoted the amount. But in that Ipade Imole, the governor, for the first time, admitted that they have collected 2 billion, 1.5 billion. And he did say that the 2 billion, even though it was for palliative, that they were not going to use it to pay any workers' wage award that the federal government specifically asked states to use that money for, that they were going to use it to refurbish buses and use part of it for roads. Go and read this speech. And I recall I took them on almost immediately the next day to say that, look, how come that it is only in Osun, in the entire state in the southwest, that will not use what the palliative was meant for, the money for the palliative? And I think barely 24 hours after then, they came up with a statement to say that they were going to give 15,000 to active workers, 10,000 to pensioners as wage award. And they went ahead to say that even though they issued the statement in November, that the wage award was going to commence in December. And I recall I still went further to say, come, if you have not used this money for something else, how come you are approving the release of wage award in November and you are saying it will commence in December? That is one. Two, when they awarded road contracts in this state, specifically the Akoda Ede road contract, they awarded the contract, the work started on that contract even before they went for the bidding process. I'm a student of Redeemers University.
Is that a fact?
It's a fact. You can
that the project has begun.
You can cross-check. Even
announced.
Ali, my very good friend and elder brother, on Frank Talk admitted that they corrected it. He admitted to that fact. But the point I'm trying to bring out is, as at the time they awarded those contracts, they never told us who the contractors were. They never told us the amount involved in that contract. And were the ones who kept hammering that, look, we want to know the identity of those doing those contracts. And that was when they now decided to fix what looked like a signboard to show who the contractors were. And we went further to dig the identities of the contract, and we realized that virtually all those contractors have no record to show that they have ever handled a project such as the one being awarded to them. For example, one was involved in fertilizer production. The other has something to do with is it electrical, electronics, or eroding of cafe? There was nothing to show that they have anything to do with so far. I think Osun people should be grateful to the APC for putting the current government on its toes.
All right, because we have a very long way to go this morning, Mr. Omipidan. But many persons will say, right, because you have talked about yourself, that you have taken the government of the day on.
Not only me as an individual,
if I may, so that you have an idea of what I'm talking about. Yourself, you make mention of yourself, and maybe your social media page, whenever you write from your Ohiolei.
Yeah, Ohiolei company.
in Larogo. Very good. Maybe what many persons will say, these are the feelers from the street, that yourself, maybe one or two persons who have really been, voicing out when they feel there's something to be talked about. But the party, APC, as a party, have been largely, quiet and non-existent when it comes to opposition politics, generally as a party, not just individuals, just occasional rabble-rousing. That's the feeler, maybe for yourself, and I'm saying that as a statement of fact, and a couple of other individuals who go on their social media page to say one or two things that they feel is not right or where the government should be towing. But the party have been largely quiet.
I don't think so. I don't think
Talking
so.
about opposition.
Yes, I don't think
Credible
so.
opposition.
I don't think so. Because I know that the party chairman, Soko, Tajuddin Lawal, and his media assistant, who is the director of media and publicity in the party, Chief Kola Olabisi, they have been doing very well. I recall that it was the party who pointed out the fact that the state government had no supplementary budget. They even went ahead to point out that some of the projects they were doing that was not captured in the budget. And somehow, some abracadabra took place because nobody knew when that supplementary budget went to the House. But suddenly we just saw a statement somewhere telling us that the supplementary budget had been passed, and they gave a figure of about 30 billion. And out of the 30 billion, the party then said that about 8 billion was voted for the governor's office. And they now came out to try to explain. So I think the party has been doing very well. You see, what the party does, or what the party is not doing, is to make wide allegations without proof, the way the PDP were doing. Because I recall very well that in one of my conversations with the spokesperson of the current governor, Mr. Lawale Rashid, he was the one who accused my principal of engaging 12,000 workers. And I recall telling him, we met on Frank Talk, we met on other radio stations, and I said, I hope that by the time you get to government, because then we had not handed over, and you find out that the figure you are putting out is false, you have the courage to apologize to the people of Osun for misleading them. Till this morning, he has not told us where those 12,000 workers were, and he has not come to apologize to the people of Osun for lying. But you see, I'm not surprised, because that appears to that appears to be his nature, a pattern. Yesterday, he was the one who signed a statement to tell the whole world, including the people of Osun, that the governor has approved the new logo for the state. The statement is out there. Only for the same man, when probably because of the backlash, because what they unveiled yesterday, with due respect to whoever was involved in that, was an insult on the sensibility and the intelligence of the people of Osun.
What is wrong with the logo?
Oh my God. So many things is wrong with the logo. I believe very strongly that a kindergarten will do better than that. We have better graphic artists in the state. I have worked with a lot of them. I have some of them who are undergraduates. They will do a better job than what was unveiled to us yesterday as the logo of the state. But surprisingly, the same spokesperson to the governor went to his Twitter page to say that what was released was a specimen. Whereas the statement introducing that logo did not anywhere state that it was specimen. You see, that is you see, whatever is built on lies, you have to tell several lies to cover it up. I spent over 3 years as Chief Press Secretary to His Excellency Oyetola, and go and check the records. There was no day I ever came out to take back whatever I would have put out to the world, because
your words because your words were infallible?
No. You see, the thing is this. As a communicator, you must be very sensitive to your environment. There are certain things that may be politically correct, but in reality are not necessarily okay.
This is the logo you're talking about?
This is the logo I'm talking about. Now, let us, for crying out loud, how can you say this is the best that we can get from Osun? I mean, you see, the moment you cannot read clearly a logo, it's a problem. Can you, if you put this logo side by side with what we had before, because when you have something before and you want to change, it presupposes that you want to give us something better. If you have the time, you can put the two side by side and allow the audience, viewers at home to judge.
All right.
And if there's nothing wrong with it, they wouldn't have denied it. Barely 6 hours after they unveiled it.
What was it denied? It wasn't like it was denied. A statement was put out to say what you have now is just a specimen of what we are bringing out. So it wasn't a denial.
The earlier statement didn't tell us that it was a specimen. The earlier statement told us categorically that after the passage of the bill by the House of Assembly, the governor has approved this logo.
But they are not denying this logo.
No.
They didn't.
Look, most Osun people, including some of their party members, came hard on them yesterday. And apparently because of the backlash, they are now saying, oh no, this is not the real thing. This is the specimen. And that the real one will not be unveiled by the end of the month. But you see, even if it's a specimen, I'm happy we are all educated, and I'm sure those listening to us and watching us at home will also understand. When you are doing new work, you have a specimen. What it means is that you look at it in-house, you debate over it, and if there are things to correct there, you now do. Now, if it's a specimen that you want members of the public to contribute to, as you are putting it out, you also put the notice that, look, we are preparing a new logo for Osun.
Okay.
This is the specimen of what we have. Help us look at it. You can now contribute. I am sure if they have done that, nobody will criticize them the way they criticized them yesterday.
Mr. Omipidan.
I recall that when we were about unveiling our youth policy, what we did was to call for contributions from every Osun young mind. In fact, we targeted it at Osun youth to come up with the best logo.
Right.
And I think the young man who won the award, was given a prize, and that was the logo we eventually used for our youth policy. So it's not as if we have not done things like that before. So we know how these things should be done.
All right.
The way they have gone about it is not the right way to go about it.
So I'm just going to read out part of the statement released by Malam Olawale Rashid.
The first one or the second one?
Yes, the first one.
Okay.
I'm going to read that out. Part of it says, I am elated to sign, that's what the governor said, to sign this new logo into law as a signal of rebirth of our dear state. The new logo is significant because it rhymes and meaningfully represents our historic anthem, our values and tradition. The new logo is also an educational resource material for our younger generation as it contains symbols of our landmarks, strengths, resources and history. The logo is also a tool to market the state at home and abroad. So, Mr. Omipidan, I'd like us to look critically at this logo. I mean, apart from the fact, because I think some people have an issue with the graphical finesse of the logo, but then let us look at the old symbols that make up the logo. If we can have the logo put up right now, you know, what exactly is wrong with this logo? Let's critique this logo now. You are in the studio with us.
Yeah.
What exactly is wrong with this logo? We have, you know, I can see the cocoa there. I can see gold. Then, you know, the river Osun. We have the Oromiyan symbol there. We have, you know, the sunlight shining on the state. It's the state of the living spring. And don't you think this actually means that Osun State is productive? Osun State has so much to give out. Osun State is blessed with a lot of mineral resources, and we are enough to actually feed and also feed other people, to feed ourselves and also feed other people.
Well, you see, before we can go into the details you have spoken about, you know, when you are entering somebody's home, from the entrance, what you see will tell you what you are likely to expect. If, for instance, from the entrance you saw deaths, I'm sure you are likely to be put off. You may not even want to go in. And so this is a work of art. Okay. The mere fact that it does not represent what it ought to be will ordinarily put anybody off.
Are you talking about the beauty now?
Yeah, it's not about the beauty. I mean, the content itself, because I'm sure if you had not read some of the details they attached to it, and even in some of the details, they were telling us one figure, they were trying to explain some of the things. Some of the things they even tried to explain in the details they put out, you cannot even find it there. I say with all sense of modesty that this does not represent the best of Osun, and you cannot tell me this represents any rebirth. If indeed this is how a rebirth should look like, then we should be thinking of something. But you see, the truth is this: you cannot give what you don't have. For me, this appears to be their standard. And I say so with all sense of modesty. Go to Abiri, go and look at that roundabout. I'm sure they worked on that roundabout for close to a year, changing every now and then. And at the end of the day, probably apart from the late Serubawan, I doubt if you can recognize anybody from what was put out in that roundabout, you know. So it is not the first time they are doing a shoddy job. I just pray and hope that the roads they are doing will not end up like this logo.
All right, let's move away from the logo. I don't know if Femi has questions.
If I think our producers are working on it, we would have loved to compare and contrast the current logo, or the former logo now, with what we have right now. And it seems to me that, Mr. Omipidan, you're essentially put off by the finesse, not really the message or the tone that the state government is bringing. For you, a good artist, a good graphic, you know, designer will have done a better job and will have been fine. Yeah, because you see, one picture is more than 1,000 words. And so long as you cannot readily visualize what is there, all other explanation, I'm sure if they had not issued a very long statement explaining some of the things you know now, seeing that thing alone, you cannot.
Mr. Omipidan, that's clear enough. At the first sight, that's clear enough. I mean, you know, Osun is known for gold. The cocoa is there. The water, the stream is there, and the sunshine, and of course the Oromiyan symbol also is there, which Osun is known for, and the date of creation of the state is there, and we also have the green, you know, surrounding the entire symbol, which represents agriculture. It's clear enough. I mean, if we had to compare it with the former logo, we had the elephants, the lion, and all of that, and one would want to say, is it a hunting state? I mean, this is the former logo.
We are known for tourism.
Okay.
I'm sure you know that.
Yes.
We are known for tourism, you know, and we are, Osun is known for, is it, when we're in the old Oyo State, for instance, we dominated the politics of the old Oyo State.
Okay.
And that is because of our strength. At some point, it was in Osun, we had the governor, we had the deputy governor, we had the SSG in the old Oyo State. So he's talking about, you know, about our strength. You know, but you see, apart from quarreling with what they put out, now, even in the administration of the state, they have not done anything to reflect some of the things they are trying to put out. For example, agriculture. This is about 16th month that they have been in government. If they are really serious about agriculture, I'm not sure they can tell us what precisely they have done in the agri sector in the last 16 months. When I look at the 2024 budget, for instance, they budgeted barely, I think about 3 billion or so for agri. And they were budgeting, I think about 14 or thereabout for the office of the governor. And I asked, if you want to increase production, what do you do? When they were campaigning, I remember the governor told us that he was going to establish what was, a perfume industry. I followed the campaign very well, so I recalled those things they promised us. He told us that he was going to invest in our youths. Even after they had been sworn in, they made noise about what they refer to as digital economy. And by my investigation, they spent 5 billion for that project. Apart from digging everywhere in Osun, where they were trying to lay some
fibers.
Is it a cable or whatever? Is it a yellow, green, whatever, that littered everywhere?
Optic fiber.
Optic fibers.
I don't know if you have heard anything about the digital economy. They are not saying anything about the digital economy anymore.
We'll get to your assessment of the government very shortly. But then, just like it's been noted, there was a rejoinder that the Osun State government said, kindly know that what was shared below is a specimen. The 3D version, carefully carved out with solidity and clarity, will be unveiled by Governor Ademola Adeleke during the next Ipade Mole on April 30th. And April 30th is not too far away. We wait to see.
But we should have asked them
what will happen.
What happened to the? Why did they in the first instance told us what they were giving us what has been approved? They never told us it was a specimen.
All right.
So this second statement is an afterthought.
All right.
And like I told you, that has been their style.
All right, Evelyn.
All right. So, Mr. Omipidan, I'd like to ask you, as opposition, you know, you've mentioned the fact that you are not the only one talking. Femi asked you that we only hear from you, from probably SRJ and, you know, a couple of APC stalwarts. But then, as an opposition, is your house in order?
Oh, very well. Our house is in order. You know, very unfortunately, the PDP appears very uncomfortable with our party. And the reason is simple. In the history of Osun, this is the first time a party will be out of power, yet remain strong, with no prominent members of the party defecting to other party. When Oyetola lost power in 2010, let me even start from Baba Kande. When Baba Kande lost power in 2003, Chief Bishop Kande, it didn't take long before some stalwarts of the party began to defect to the PDP. When Oyetola also lost power in 2010, in fact, barely 24 hours after Ogbeni Arigbesola was declared the governor of the state, the current chairman of ILA College of Education Board, Honorable Peter Power, was among the first set of people who defected, barely 24 hours after takeover of power. But here we are, 16 months after we left power, we are still waxing strong. And you see, they thought that they could bully us to silence. They thought they could intimidate us to silence. They thought they could send some of us out of the state. But unfortunately for them, they see us on daily basis, so that alone gives them nightmares. So the only way to now make it look as if our house is not in order was for them to begin to plant stories. And we know those planting those stories. We know them.
For example?
Any story you hear about SRJ wanting to run for governorship, SRJ say won't step down. We know the source. And that has been the pattern. I know a senior member of this government, before he joined government, we used to call him Agbelero. Agbelero in Yoruba simply means sitting down to imagine things and put it together in form of a story. Unfortunately, this fellow is in the habit of passing those kind of material as news story to the newspaper organization where he worked. And so I am not surprised that the same fellow has brought the same attitude to government. So we know them.
What are you talking about?
Well, because some of the issues are already being taken up by security operatives, I want to leave it at that. But I know that at the appropriate time, the people of Osun will know those who have been putting out fake news as far as events and activities in this state is concerned, especially with regards to APC and some of its leaders.
So I'd like to know, what is the connection between APC and Prince Dotun Bayemi? There were speculations that he wanted to defect, or he may be defecting to the All Progressives Congress, or probably the APC is using him to destabilize the PDP. So I'd like to know, you're here in the studio, so I'd like to know, what is the connection between your party and Prince Dotun Bayemi?
So if I may add, because at some of these events, the Atutu Osun events, some members, prominent members of your party, have been seen at that event.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, as at this morning, as at today, I know that Prince Dotun Bayemi is a member of the PDP. However, with regards to the happenings in Osun today, I am aware that a lot of PDP members, including some of those who are even serving in the government, are not pleased with what is happening. Therefore, if to show their protest over what is happening is some of the things they are doing, I wouldn't know. To the best of my knowledge, as at this morning, I do not know Prince Dotun Bayemi as a member of the APC, but I know him as a prominent Osun citizen who is interested in the good of the society, and anybody who is interested in the good of the society will not support the kick and start kind of administration we are witnessing in Osun today.
So you're saying the APC is not in talks with Prince Dotun Bayemi?
You know, I'm not an official of the party. So,
to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, I am not aware.
But you're a member of the APC?
I work
not just
for,
a member?
No, I work for the leader of the APC. I'm a professional journalist.
Are you an APC member, Mr. Omipidan?
As of today, I am associated with the APC.
You're not a card-carrying member of the APC?
As of today, I am associated with the APC.
I think that's a yes or no question.
Exactly. Are you a card-carrying member of the APC?
No, as of today, at least, like I always tell people, I'm not the spokesperson of the APC, but I speak for His Excellency Oyetola, who is, by the grace of God and the divine arrangement, leader of the party in Osun today.
But you're an APC member? No?
I'm sure I've answered the question.
Okay, all right. Moving on, I think our people knows the answer already. Now, you spoke about some persons planting some news that are not right. You talked about SRJ, that's the Senator Ajibola Bashir, the National Secretary of your party, the APC. And of course, he was a senator in the state and an illustrious son of the state as well. And there has been, the last time we spoke with you virtually, we spoke to that issue, that there is the rumor that there's an issue between him and your principal, His Excellency Oyetola, and you dispelled it that bad way. And just last week, he granted a press briefing and he dispelled the rumor as well.
By himself.
By himself. But then that is not just it. And based on 2026 election, by the way, and at that election, at that press briefing, Mr. Omipidan, SRJ, for people who know him, is a kind of person that never holds back on his thought. Very vocal. And he made a statement which has really been causing controversy by naming only 2 former governors as members of the party. He mentioned Chibisi Akonde and he mentioned your principal,
as leaders.
As leaders
of
the party. And he didn't mention Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola. And many persons are saying, excuse me, the person that handed over to the person you are mentioning, that means Ogbeni handed over, constitutionally to Alhaji Oyetola. And many persons say, why will SRJ, just mention these 2 former leaders, ignoring conveniently Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola? I try to ask you this morning, I know you don't speak for him, but do you agree with that thought?
Well,
I'm asking your opinion on this matter.
As individuals, we're entitled to our opinion. But I also know for a fact, because when you say you belong to a party, you must be seen to be making your contributions to the growth and development of the party. And when you do anything to the contrary, people certainly will begin to doubt your sincerity and loyalty to the party. So I want to believe that perhaps because I also know for a fact that the last series of elections that were held in this state, beginning from the governorship election up to the presidential and National Assembly election, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola stayed away from the activities of the. Perhaps that probably may explain why the National Secretary of the party formed that opinion. I haven't spoken to him about it, but I know that he also tried to explain. And some of the explanations he gave appear to tally with, because if you say, for instance, you work for RIV, or you work with Western Spring Television, and for 1 year, we didn't see you step into these premises. And within that 1 year, we saw you hobnobbing and fraternizing with the Fresh FM. People will be correct to challenge your loyalty and sincerity as far as your being a part of Western Spring Television is concerned. For me, I want to believe that was the basis for SRJ's opinion. So it is left for Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola to now come out to say that, no, SRJ, you are wrong. I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. So we wait for him to say.
Mr. Omipidan, for the benefit of those that didn't see that video, we'll just allow you to see it briefly and we'll come back to the conversation.
Governor Oyetola sent Salah greeting to me. Governor Oyetola sent Salah greeting to me. And I called him and we spoke for about 10 minutes. Yes. And we cracked banters. And he promised me that my Salah gift is already reserved. So somebody who has reserved Salah gift for me, and I've already recorded that. I don't know what problem you say we have it. So the truth is this. Some of those stories you are seeing, they are being concocted by the rudderless propaganda machinery of Adeleke government. They are jobless. And the stories does not gel. When you even talk of story, you must talk of story that has listenability. I'm the national secretary of the party. Governor Oyetola, former governor, is the minister. We have serious business to do than to reduce ourselves to the level of inanities. Then secondly, what is the issue they are talking about? They are talking about 2026 gubernatorial election. Come, as expression of interest come out, as the form been issued out, so in 2024, you're already talking, I even read one, I will not step down for anybody. Who is discussing something like that? Come, some of us are serious-minded people. We have work to do for inanities. I don't have any problem with the former governor. The truth is this. Our party is a party of leadership. As of today, there are 2 former governors in our party. Baba Bisi Akonde, that I celebrated Salah with yesterday, and Alhaji Isaka Oyetola. Both of them are my leaders. So you cannot say that I'm fighting my leaders. Anybody that's saying that, I know it can come from them. But you know, PDP also have an affiliate. So it can either come from the PDP or some affiliate of PDP that they are writing their own story. So I don't have any problem.
And that was the clip. So you are in sync with him?
Well, honestly, the basis upon which he founded his opinion, I totally agree with him.
Okay, all right. Moving on, we are really, in want of time. Many handlers of this current administration, led by His Excellency Ademola Adeleke, the party led by Honorable Sunday BC, at different times are responding to some issues, and social media, in many fora, said that what your principal couldn't do in 4 years, they have been able to do it in just over a year. And they pride themselves by talking about the infrastructure, roads project going on. They call it the mega project. They talk about healthcare, the Ilera Imole, payment of salaries and arrears as and when due. Now, payment of salary as and when due, and arrears that your principal didn't touch while he was in power. What's your take on that? That what Oyetola could do in 4 years. They have been doing it. And so, what's the fuss about? That you don't have the moral right to even talk about development in the state, Mr. Omipidan.
Well, thank you very much. I don't really know what they have done in 16 months that would dwarf what we did in 4 years.
Yeah.
For example, each time they talk about Oyetola's administration, I tell people that if you are, appraising Oyetola's administration, be fair to him, and you must appraise him against the background of what he inherited and what was accruing to the state as allocation from the federal government. Now, I am aware that when His Excellency Oyetola took over government in November 2018, he didn't know where the salary of that month was going to come from. I joined him in August 2019. As at the time I joined him, they were paying salaries 2 weeks into the next month. For instance, we're in April. To get April salary at the end of April, workers will have to wait till either the first week or second week in May, because that was at the time he was trying to stabilize the state. And by November or so of 2019, he had already stabilized to the extent that workers were now collecting their salaries the same month. But when the current governor took over, we left 14 billion naira for him to take off. I recall that at the beginning, my very good friend and brother, Mr. Ohiolei Rashid, initially their claim was that they didn't meet any money. But subsequently, they admitted that they met money, but it was just enough to pay November salary. Until today, I've asked them repeatedly, that amount you met that was enough just to pay November salary, how much was it? And the reason I'm asking is that I am aware that my principal had signed off on the November salary, but because the Accountant General then had started hobnobbing with the Adeleke dynasty, he bolted away and we had no access to him. That was the only reason why we couldn't pay November salary. But I am aware.
Was that what happened?
That was exactly what happened, and I'm saying it openly. Let the Accountant General come to controvert my claim. Now, I am aware that that November salary included my own salary as a political appointee and several other political appointees. Yeah. But till today, I have not been paid that November salary. I am also aware that that November salary included the teachers that were sacked by the current government. I am aware that they never paid those teachers. So where are the money? So, you see, it is easy to talk is cheap. But by the time we go critically into this, now, the only thing they will claim that we never did, I use the word claim consciously, was the issue of the arrears. And pensioners are watching me, they are listening to me. It is true that we didn't pay active workers part of the arrears. But we indeed paid pensioners. And what was the reason? We figured out that the active workers were collecting their salaries as and when due. But some of the pensioners had nothing to fall back to. So we said, okay, since we are able to pay the active workers, let us also pay arrears to the pensioners. And we did pay. But you see, the type of resources that they have today, we never had that. I tell you, on the average, we were collecting between, there were months we got 2 billion, there were months we got 3, there were months we got 3.5, there were months we got 0 allocation. And there was no month we never paid salary. But let us even assume.
There was a time on that when your principal was there, when you got 0 allocation?
Yeah, more than once. 0 allocation.
Because of deductions? Because of deductions.
Yet we paid salaries. Now, let us even assume that on the average we got 3.5 billion for 4 years. Assuming on the average that we got 3.5 billion for 4 years. Multiply 3.5 by 12 times 4, 36 months. By 36 months, I tell you what this government has gotten in the last 16 months. It's more than what we got in 4 years. So they should even have better things to show to us. In any case, I remember during the campaign, what they told us was that they were going to clear the arrears within 6 months. I personally had interface with workers in the state. I had interface with pensioners. We were relating very well.
All right.
And I remember telling them that, look, my principal will not lie to you. He will not say things. As at that time, we didn't know that the allocation of the state will improve the way it has improved now. So as at that time, there was no way we could clear the money. And I told them, I said, look, you have somebody
But you had 4 years.
Yes. I said, look, I just told you how he took off. I told you when he stabilized.
And many persons will not really want to isolate Governor Oyetola's administration because it was part of the previous administration.
Let me round off my thought and I will address that. Now, I told them.
We have less than 2 minutes, by the way.
Okay, thank you. I told them that, look, you have someone who has dug a well for you. The water in the well is dirty. But with patience, you could fetch, you cook with the water, you drink the water once it's settled, and you wash. And somebody is promising you that he wants to dig another well. Now, you don't know if he has expertise in digging the well. You don't know if you will ever get water from that well. That why don't you stay with the one that you can see? And they say, no, they have promised that they will clear it in 6 months. And that was when my principal advised that we should not lie to get votes. But today, they will tell you that the governor never promised he was going to clear it in 6 months. And it is over a year. I'm not sure they have paid more than 4 or 5. And these were the same people who were telling us then that payment of salary was not an achievement. I wonder why they want to use it today as an But you see, the truth is this. If just for January and February, this government got 32 billion, for crying out loud, we should see more tangible things. And they should stop this, this deceit.
All
right, so on the road to 2026, the last time we had you virtually, we asked you if your principal, is nursing any ambition to go for governorship come 2026, and you said as at then, he hasn't said anything to you and you cannot speak for him. But then let's leave that by the side. If peradventure your principal, Alhaji Oyetola, says, I want to pick up the race for the governorship 2026, do you think it will still be popular amongst the civil servants today with what is happening, what is going on, comparing your own administration with the administration of Ademola Adeleke?
Well, the question you asked is futuristic, and I wouldn't hazard any guess.
I mean, with what you achieved and what he is achieving now.
What I can say
yes,
is that with benefit of insight, not just workers in the state today, but the people of Osun in the last 16 months would have known the difference between His Excellency Oyetola
and the workers are part of those people.
That's what I'm saying. You know, I'm not saying whether my principal will contest or not, because as at today, what we are concerned about is to lay a good foundation for the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. That is our focus. That is my principal as at today. But I know that APC will contest the next governorship election. Who the candidate will be, I cannot say. But with what Oyetola did in the last 4 years, and with what the best these people have put up so far, I believe very strongly that the people of Osun, including the workers, today know the difference. And the difference is clear.
Very good. Just like 7-Up. The difference is clear. We must sincerely thank you. But there was a time you were accused of threatening the life of Oyetola. And I understand the security agencies were petitioned. How is that going? Why did you threaten him? Well, if you can do that in 30 seconds.
Thank you very much. I think I've explained that time with that number. They took my piece out of context. And I believe very strongly that if you go and read that piece very well, you know that there's nothing about life threatening there.
Have you been invited?
As at this morning, no.
Okay.
I don't know if it will happen after leaving the studio.
Yeah. All right. And finally, I'm sure our producers will be upset with me, but the thing is, with the way your principal handled the salary situation, you gave explanation, but yes, you might have your reasons, but you didn't put them, your reasons didn't put money in the pocket of those civil servants at that time. Do you think it was a huge letdown on the part of your principal, and maybe it was his undoing why he wasn't re-elected?
No.
A huge factor.
You see, if I go into the issue of the election, we will not have the time.
I'm talking about the salary.
I believe
and its impact.
You see, the salary. Yeah. The truth is that the workers knew we were paying salaries regularly. Part of the fear they raised was that they were not sure if we will still pay even the current salary, the way we were paying it if we were re-elected. Because I had this
second time.
Yeah, second time. Issues. Because according to them, they say most governors, once they come second time, they start me. And I remember telling them that, look, this Oyetola will not change. That most of those governors who could not pay salaries the second time started showing sign of not being able to pay before the first time. And that we were just going into election. And even after the result of the election, we were still able to pay salaries up to the last day. And we were able to do that because we never touched the state resources to prosecute that election. Because if we had touched the state resources to prosecute that election, we would not have been able to pay salaries.
All right, I would like to sincerely appreciate you, Mr. Ismail Omipidan, spokesperson to former Governor Alhaji Oyetola, who is now the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy of the Federation. Thank you so much for your time this morning. It has been an exciting conversation, and it always is whenever we have to have you as a guest on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is mine.
Thank you.
All right, and that's the size of the show this morning. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you all of the time. You can watch a recap of the show on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. Also, you can connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Western Spring Television. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei, and like I always say, Nigeria must and will work in our time. God bless Nigeria, and God bless Osun State.
Amen. To that, Femi is my name. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow for the TGIF edition. Enjoy the rest of your day and be responsible. Bye-bye.